Welcome to the Mindset Architect Podcast, where it's all about creating the life you want, the business you want, and making a real difference. Join us in unlocking the code to true success. And now your host, Tony Caliendo, Master Coach with reTHINK Coaching.
Welcome to the Mindset Architect Podcast, episode number 30. I'm Tony Caliendo, Master Coach here at reTHINK Coaching. And I want to welcome you as always and start off by thanking you for your gift of time. I truly mean it. I know that you spending time with me is one of our most valuable gifts, and I appreciate you being here. So today, buckle up. We're going to talk about a process that I've been doing really since the beginning of the year that I want to share with you that has made truly a tremendous difference in how I've been able to show up as a business owner and as a person in my world. And I wanted to do this for myself for a while before I really rolled it out. And I've shared it with my one-on-one clients, and those that have participated are seeing great results from it. So I want to share it with you. So I know on the last episode, I talked to you about what I call the thought flow model, right? Thoughts, feelings, actions, results. If you missed it, go back and listen to it because it'll make this podcast make so much more sense. And if you missed episode number 1, I would say go back and take a listen to it, and then listen to episode 29, and then listen to this episode in that order. It will really help you understand the importance of this and why I am really pushing this, because I'm doing this really out of care. I will tell you, with all of the stuff that's going on in the world, it's really easy to get mired down in the negative. And more than ever, I feel like the work that I do with helping people with mindset and thoughts is so important for our success in this world, now more than ever. And because of the constant noise, I call it, between the news and your phone and the notifications and the Facebook post and all of the ways that news and media has a way of getting to us, I think it's really important for us to take control of that. So what I want to talk about today is an exercise that I've been doing where we really do a deep dive on the thoughts that you're having every day. Because here's what I know to be true. We have on average 60,000 thoughts a day. You've heard me say this before, and I'm going to continue to say it because I want you to hear it. We have on average 60,000 thoughts a day. So that means you could be somebody that has more or somebody that has less, but let's just go with the average. And we know that 80% of those thoughts that we have are negative, and 95% of those are repetitive. So think about that for a minute. 60,000 thoughts, 80% is 48,000 disempowering or negative thoughts are happening to you every day, and 95% are repetitive. So I want to just do some refresher here as to why this conversation is going to change your world, literally. If we know this, right, that we have these thoughts that are happening, and let's be honest, we are having a lot of these on an unconscious level. So they're just happening. We're not sitting down consciously coming up with the thought. It's really your brain is really presenting it to you. If we're having that many negative thoughts a day, we probably need to do something about it if we would like to live a bigger life, if we'd like to have a bigger business, if we would like to experience life through a more positive lens and get into what I call the flow. You know, that moment where everything is just going right, everything's clipping along, you feel really good. The things that are coming to you are incredibly positive. The things that you're outflowing are incredibly positive, and it just is such a better existence. So with that in mind, the exercise that I've been doing has been really enlightening. And I will share with you, I'm pretty transparent. I've been coaching mindset and NLP work really since 2010. So about 14 years. And I consider myself to be enlightened. Now, what I love about this, it's not ego. What I love about this is my old coach Diana always used to say, you never slide into home plate. You've always got room to grow. And if you think you've ever, slid into home plate, she would quickly remind you that you haven't. And I loved her for that because it keeps you humble and it keeps you hungry to do more. So here's what I realized. The first time I did this exercise, and like I said, I did it on myself before presenting it to any clients, I was shocked, surprised at the amount of negative thoughts I was having. I thought because I do so much mind work on myself with my journaling and my gratitude and knowing the model inside and out, that I was probably still having negative thoughts, clearly. But I was really surprised to the number that I was having. So I will tell you about 10 days in to this exercise, my world started changing. I became aware of those unconscious thoughts that I was having and was able to do something about it versus them just existing. So the exercise is really pretty simple. And I say that, and it can be uncomfortable, but that's okay. All right. I want you to be okay with being uncomfortable about this because that's where growth happens. And we've talked about this a million times. I will tell you, I was uncomfortable. What you do is you sit for 10 minutes, just 10 minutes. That's it. So I set a timer on my desk and I had a little bit of music playing in the background. And I just sat for 10 minutes in thought flow mode, meaning I just wrote down the thoughts that I was having in that moment for 10 minutes. I didn't really lift my pen. I just line by line would write out the thoughts that I was having. Now, the first day I did this, well, let me tell you, when the negative thoughts were coming up and I was writing them down, I was really wanting to dispel those thoughts, to justify those thoughts, to sit with those thoughts for a while and try to figure them out. And that is not what I want you to do. I just want you to do a thought dump for 10 minutes. And you're going to write down all of the thoughts that you're having. When I did this again, remember I said I was a little surprised. I was really at about 80% negative, 20% positive. So you're going to have some positive thoughts throughout this. And in the beginning, the 10 minutes seemed like it was forever, but I was getting some great stuff out of my head. Now, I personally chose to do this in the morning. I got up, did my gratitude. I did not journal. I grabbed my coffee and then I went in to do this exercise. So I was probably up in about 15, 20 minutes. And I find for myself, that is what I call the bewitching hour for me, where my brain is starting to come alive and all of these thoughts are starting to flood. So I did this in the morning. Now, I do not prescribe that everybody has to be a morning person, that you need to get up at 4:30 in the morning like I do. I don't prescribe that. I'm just saying when it worked best for me. And I wanted to do it in the morning because I wanted to identify the thoughts. And then I'm going to show you what we did to work on them. I wanted to really identify those thoughts. And here's where it got interesting. There tended to be a theme or a couple of themes in that 10 minutes around success, around money, around family, around happiness. There tended to be some themes. Other days were heavier in the business money area. Other days were heavier in the personal area, but they were there. And those thoughts came flowing really freely once I let go of judgment and I let go of trying to justify or fix the thought. So I'm going to invite you to think about a time that would be really beneficial for you. I'm going to encourage morning. I just am. I've got some clients that did this at the middle or end of the day and it was fine. I think you owe it to yourself to get your day started in a really good way. And this is a good exercise to do it. So you sit with your thoughts for 10 minutes and, do your best not to really lift your pen. I would write a thought, next line, write a thought, next line, write a thought. And I did it in that order because I didn't want it to get all jumbled. And once you were done with the 10 minutes, if you were depleted of thoughts, stop. If you are still on a roll, keep going, but minimum 10. Once I did that, I then looked at all of the thoughts that I wrote down and I picked one that really spoke to me. And it was a negative thought. I'm not here to change positive. I want to change the negative. And it really, really, really spoke to me. And so I would focus on that thought. Now, I want to address something right now. I had a couple of people ask me this. Why in the world would you want us to acknowledge and write down all those negative thoughts and create those thoughts in our head? Okay. Here's what I'm going to tell you. Those thoughts are happening. Remember, 60,000 thoughts a day happen because a lot of them are happening on an unconscious level. Just because I've never written them down or I didn't get right with them in terms of owning it when I wrote it down doesn't mean they're not happening. This is your best chance of reducing that 80-20 percentage, 20% positive, 80% negative. Those thoughts are happening anyway. This is a powerful way to reverse this to a degree. So you sit with your thoughts, you write them down, you identify the one, and I will tell you at the end, we can do more, but I identified the one that really spoke to me that day. So I would do this in my journal. I've got a great PDF on this. If you want a copy of it, just send me a note and I'll send it to you. So on the left page, I would just dump my thoughts. On the right side of the page, I did the model twice. I ran the thought through the model twice. All right. Remember, the model is thoughts, feelings, actions, results. So I would take the negative thought and I would put it on the T line, the thought line, and I would sit with what feeling, emotion, energy is that thought creating? What actions or non-action am I taking because of that feeling and that thought? And what are the results that I'm getting when I hold on to that thought? Okay, so we're running the model through with the thought as it is, more negative or disempowering. And I want you to do that because I want you to realize that that thought is producing a feeling, emotion, and an energy. That feeling, emotion, and energy is generating action or non-action, or, like I said in the previous podcast, half-ass action. And those are causing the results that you're getting. So I really want you to get it crystal clear. When I allow this thought to be negative, this is what's happening with the thought flow, because that's what happens, right? Thoughts create feelings, create actions, create results. So we're not creating something, we're acknowledging something that is existing within you. And until we do, we can't change it. So once you do this, all right, and you've run through this model, and we have the negative version or the unconscious version, all right, that's what I like to call it. It's the unconscious, unintentional version, all right, of the model, because the chances are the thought that you're going to pick for the day was not a conscious thought. It was a thought that came up from your brain, produced out to you, and it came up more on an unconscious level. So we now have the negative. We don't want to stay there, but I want you to see the impact that that is having on you. Now we go to dispelling that thought or that story, right? And we've done this before. So I would sit with that thought and ask myself, is it true? Is it 100% true? When I allow myself to believe that it's true, how do I show up? When I know it's not 100% true, right? Because when you ask yourself that question, is it 100% true? Are you absolutely certain it is 100% true? You're going to get the answer, it's not 100%. Nothing is. So you're cracking open that door of possibility for something else. So when I ask myself the fourth question, who can I be? When I let go of that negative thought, because I know it's not 100% true, who can I be? This is the best way to dispel or bust up a negative thought. As you know, I call thought stories a way for us to dispel that. All right. So now we have a different version of that thought. We know it's not true. We might feel true, but we know it's not 100% true. And we know that there is a different version of us that can show up when we reframe that thought, because it's not 100% true. So now I get to sit with that thought and I get to reframe it. Okay. So now the negative thought turns into a more empowering or positive thought, because I know it's not true. Now I'm going to run the model again on an intentional, conscious level, because now I've taken the thought out of my unconscious mind and brought it to life. So now I get to do the positive version of that thought. I get to sit with, okay, so what feelings, emotions, and energy did that thought produce? And what was generated in terms of actions now around those feelings, emotions, and energy? And what results can I expect to get? You've taken, this is the power of this, and I cannot stress this enough. You've taken thoughts that are happening on an unconscious level that are not serving you, and you're bringing them to your conscious awareness. You are running it through the model because we know the model works: thoughts, feelings, actions, results. That's just how it works. So if we're having a negative thought on an unconscious level, it's impacting our feelings, emotions, and energy, impacting the actions we take, don't take, and impacting our results. We get to change that. This is what I love about this exercise. I've said this before, you get to choose the thoughts you have. Now, you're not going to stop at 100%, but this exercise is starting to help you reprogram those negative thoughts with positive, because you're blowing up, busting the story. I did this, and I want you to do this for a week with just one of the thoughts, just one. And I want you to get really comfortable with running through the model, the unconscious version and the conscious version, or unintentional and intentional, right? We have the negative thought we're going to run through. We have the positive thought now we're going to run through. And you're going to get to see and experience the difference and the shift in the energy that you have. Now, here's what I want you to do. This is what I did, and this is what I'm going to encourage you to do. Your brain is really pretty powerful, and it's got all these little neural pathways in it. And I don't want to get too heady, but we have a thought that triggers a neural pathway to go, right? You have thought, boom, this thought goes down this pathway in your brain and retracts how you're going to respond or react to it. So just because I did this exercise once at 5 o'clock in the morning does not mean that that negative thought is not going to continue to show up all day long. It just is, because that's the pathway your brain has taken when something happens. Remember circumstance. When something happens that triggers the thought triggers the pathway, and boom, you're going down that pathway again. So what I'm going to ask you to do, and this is what I did, in the notes section on my phone, I would write down the new thought that I had, and I would write down the thoughts, the feelings, the actions, and the results. Because that negative thought, remember, 95% of our thoughts are repetitive. So that negative thought's not just happening once today. It's going to happen over and over and over and over today. And until we become aware of it and make it a conscious thought, and we have the counter positive thought to it, it's going to be just like any other day. So this is where the power of this comes in. You hold on to that new version of that thought, that story, the positive, and you run it through the model and you keep it with you all day long. I'm going to ask that you do this exercise for a week, focused around just one of your negative thoughts that you had. It's not going to be the same one every day. It's just not. Some may be showing up because, remember, 95% are repetitive. But the one that kind of gets you the charge or hits you in the stomach or makes you go, that's the one, it most likely is not going to be the same thought that you did from a previous day. Okay, so I, again, have a great PDF on this that outlines this and explains it, but I think you can get this on your own. And even if you can and you want a copy of it, just message me and I'll get you a copy of it. You are doing a couple things. You're doing a thought dump for 10 minutes. You're just sitting with a thought flow going and writing down all of your thoughts. You're picking one of those disempowering negative thoughts and you're going to run it through the model twice. You're first going to run it through the model, thoughts, feelings, actions, results, as it is, negative, disempowering. You're going to understand the power of that and the feeling it creates, the emotion that you experience, and the energy that it does when you have that negative thought. You're going to see the impact it has on you taking action or that when you do take action, it's really not wholehearted, and therefore it's impacting the results that you're getting. This is so incredibly powerful. I want you to really understand this at a high level. Do not change the negative thought yet. Sit with it and see the impact that this is having in your business, in your life. And it has been happening this way for years or decades for you, because we tend to live in the conscious world, not the unconscious, and we're just ignoring a lot of what's going on. I want you to experience a different life, and we're going to do it by this. So once we run it through the model as it is negative, and you really get to sit with the impact it's having on you, then we're going to ask ourselves those 4 questions about the thought. Is it true? Is it 100% true? Who am I when, and if you're watching this on YouTube, I don't know why balloons just went up. Who am I when I believe that old thought? And then who could I be when I let it go and I realize it's not true? That is so empowering, because that who you get to show up and who you get to be becomes your new thought. It becomes a new empowering version of the original negative thought. Now you're going to take that new empowering thought and you're going to run it through the model: thoughts, feelings, actions, results. And you're going to get to see that the empowering thought is going to have a different impact on you, how you feel, emotion you experience, and energy. Therefore, it's going to allow you to take action at a different level. You're either going to take it, which you haven't been in the past, or you're going to take it with a different level of certainty and energy and belief that that action is going to get you the results, and therefore you're ultimately going to get the results. Okay, so that is the power of this exercise. I said earlier, for me, it was about day 10 that I felt a turnaround. I started to have more positive than negative. I started to see things showing up in my world. Different people were reaching out for coaching. Different people were reaching out for group coaching. Different people were showing up in my world that just seemed to magically show up. Well, it wasn't magic. It's because I changed my thoughts and my feelings, which generated the ability for me to take actions at a very different level. And the results that I wanted were more clients. So it was about day 10 that I really started to feel a difference. I started to feel a little lighter by the end of the first week. And I'll be really honest with you, I was resistant to sitting for 10 minutes. It just was. And that's why I had to really create the space for myself in my office. So I have a desk behind me in the desk that I'm using right now, to really allow myself to get the most out of this exercise. I had to turn everything off, and I turned my back because I didn't want to hear a ding or see a message come in. I had music playing, but I really had to discipline myself for 10 minutes, knowing that this was going to work. So I started feeling a difference at the end of the first week, and really about day 10, I started to notice the difference. Well, by day 30, things were very different, very different. And I started to experiencing things at a different level. I started to become much more aware of the number of times I was having a negative thought or that same negative thought throughout the day, and I was able to squelch it immediately. I didn't really have to run it through the flow model. I just knew what the new thought was, and I was able to replace it with it, and I was able to stay so on track and focused in my activities, my conversations. Everything got heightened, and it was amazing. Now, I said for a week, just pick one thought. So that was really kind of the intention of the exercise. Well, in about week 2, I started thinking, well, I'm having more than one negative thought a day. So could I pick 2 or 3 of those disempowering thoughts and run it through the model? And so at the end of the first week, I started doing this with 2 or 3 thoughts, because suddenly I realized that a lot of them had equal weight, not good, and equal connotation to it of negativity. And I wanted to clear it up because now I became aware of it. And so I would do more than one a day, but that was just me. If you are good with just doing one, do one, because we're conquering it. And what you're going to find out, remember I said things started showing up in patterns. you're going to start to see these patterns, right? And that is a great moment for you to reflect on, why am I having these thoughts more today? What's going on? The circumstance. We didn't really talk about that. Remember, the thought flow model is circumstance. So something happens, creates a thought, feeling, action, results. I didn't really want to deal with circumstance at first. I just wanted to deal with reframing the thought, moving it from negative to positive. But when I started to see the patterns is when I started to ask myself, well, what's the circumstance that's causing this pattern? And that was another breakthrough moment for me. So pay attention. Don't just do the exercise, right? Do what you're supposed to do, check your list. I did it, and move on throughout the day. Really use the data that we're going to uncover in this to figure out what's the circumstance that's triggering this. So was there a circumstance that day that was triggering more negative thoughts around my money, more negative thoughts around my business, more negative thoughts about my relationships, more negative whatever it was a really great moment for me to go, that's the circumstance. Typically, I can't change the circumstance, but I can change how I react to it. And I became aware that when I would run into that circumstance, or the circumstance would come up, I could proactively start feeding my brain with the positive versus allowing it to go, oh, that happened. Here's the negative. Live in the negative. I was able to flip it pretty quick. So I know I put a lot out there today, and I'm just going to review this with you one more time because I really want you to do this. I really want you to sit with 10 minutes in silence, maybe some music like I had playing in the background, same music I used to meditate to. I had that music playing in the background, and you sit in 10 minutes of just thought flow. No judgment, no rationalizing it, no making excuses about it, just write the thought down. Then you're going to pick one of those that really stands out, one of the negative thoughts that really stands out, and you're going to run it through the model first as it is, as the negative thought, and realize what feeling, emotion, energy is that producing. And because I have that feeling, emotion, energy, what is it generating in terms of action or inaction or half-assed action? And then what results can I expect from it? Leave it in its negative form. Really feel the model work. I promise you, when you have a negative thought and you lean into it and you say, okay, what feelings, emotions, energy am I having? It will show up. So once we run it through the negative model, all right, I call it the unintentional model, right? It's coming out of our unconscious mind. I call it the unintentional model. Then I want to turn the thought around, and you're going to do that by asking yourself the 4 questions. Is it true? Which you might in the beginning go, yeah, it's true. Then you ask yourself, is it 100% true? Answer to that is usually no, it's not. There's very few things in life that are 100% true. And when you realize it's not 100% true, it's going to crack open the door of what's really possible, or what thought could be possible. Just going to ask yourself, hey, when I hold on to that old thought, how does it affect me? How do I show up when I lean into that old thought? And it might be, I'm not taking action, or I'm doing the action and not getting the results, right? That's who you get to show up as. But now that we know the thought is not true, who do I get to be? Who do I get to show up as? And that is going to help you formulate your new thought. Now we're going to take that new thought and we're going to run it through the intentional or conscious model. Thoughts, feelings, actions, and results. You're going to see the transformation of the negative thought to a positive. You're going to see the transformation of your feelings, emotions, and energy from negative to positive. You're going to see the transition of your actions from being what you have been doing to what you are going to do now that you've changed the thoughts and the feelings. And then you're going to get to see the impact of the results. Here's what's really cool. This is real time, people. So you're going to get to see the results happen typically that same day. This is where on day 10, I really noticed the turn was happening. And like I said, my business was impacted in a really positive way. My relationships were impacted in a really positive way. And it started showing up about day 10. I kept doing it. I got a newsflash. I started this first week of January, still doing it. And here we are, second or third week of March. Today's the 18th of March. So it's been that powerful for me. So I'm just going to invite you to do it. I would love to hear your stories about this. I would love to hear what you experience. This is the secret. This is the key that unlocked everything for me, was learning about this model. It unlocked success in several businesses that I have launched. It has unlocked success for me as a human being. This is the piece that most people do not get and don't use at this level, that when they do, they start to experience why the model is so important. So just remember: thoughts, feelings, actions, results. If you start to see a theme or a pattern, ask yourself, what's the circumstance that's creating that to show up more in my personal life today, or my belief about money today? What's the circumstance? And you can then become aware of, hey, this is a circumstance, and when it happens, this is typically what happened. And now I can be like, okay, that's the circumstance that showed up today, but here's my real thought about it. And I run through the positive intentional version, and I bust that circumstance out of the water. And you start to see more incredible results. I love this work, team. I love this. I don't care if you sell screwdrivers. I don't care if you sell houses. I don't care if you sell beauty. I don't care what you sell, or if you're just wanting to be a better version of you. This model is the game changer. So do yourself a favor, get out a blank piece of paper right now, and write on the left side, thought dump. On the right side, write unintentional model, thoughts, feelings, actions, results. Below that, write intentional model, thoughts, feelings, actions, results. Write down the 4 questions. Is it true? Is it 100% true? Who am I when I hold on to that thought? Who do I get to be when I let it go? Change it, run it through the model. That is your homework for the next 30 days. If you want a PDF, and honestly, I would love to share it with you, just reach out to me. DM me at Tony M. Caliendo. That's my Instagram handle. Email me at tony@rethinkcoaching.com, and I'll send it to you. It's got instructions. It's got it formulated for you, so you know exactly what you're doing. Feel free to reach out. I really want you to do this. Like I said, I've been doing thought work for 14 years, and I really felt like, with all of the training and experience I had, that I wouldn't have the 80% negative thoughts. Well, surprise, surprise, I did. So I want you to experience what I got to experience, and the change I got to feel, and the change that the clients that I coach that are doing this exercise are starting to see in their business and their life. Okay, team, that's it. That's a lot coming at you, but it's very simple and extremely powerful. Questions, reach out to me. You know how to get a hold of me. Happy to help you out. I cannot wait to see you guys next week. Now, here's what I would love. Send me some feedback. Send me an email that says, I did it. Post on Facebook, post on Instagram, wherever you want to go. You can find me. I want to hear your results. I want to hear your stories, because I promise you it's going to be powerful, and it's going to be bigger than you thought it could be. You just have to trust the process on this one, and I promise you, you're going to see amazing things. Thanks so much for being here. We'll talk to you next week. Go have fun with your thoughts. If you enjoyed listening to this podcast, you must come check out the Mindset Architect Group Coaching Program. It's our monthly program where we explore the power of your mindset, help you identify what you truly want in business and life, and then help you reach those goals. Come check us out at rethinkcoaching.com/group-program. That's rethinkcoaching.com/group-program. We'll see you there.